Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, who's ready to go? Don Fisher going to join us really early in the show because he's prepping for IU-Purdue Part 2 coming up at 8 o'clock in Mackey Arena in West Lafayette later on tonight. 7P coverage, 93 WIBC. So Don Fisher is going to join us a little bit later on. You know, we got so much to talk about, so much to do. It's going to take me a minute to even run it down. Bob Lovell, Indiana Sports Talk. We've got not only high school basketball closing the stretch run of the fellas in high school basketball and semi-state action with a lot of local notables coming up tomorrow throughout the state of Indiana. Southport's going to be active. And it's okay tomorrow at Southport. And we'll see ultimately if it is going to be Roncalli. I know the Royals are there with Coach Sims. Trying to think who else is there. I know Northview from Clay County. That's Brazil, Indiana. And who else? Jennings County and maybe even Washington, I think, from Davies County is at Southport. And the reason why I bring this up at the start of the show is because we play Sunday mornings at Southport, and oftentimes, because of semi-states like this, there are no nets left over because the nets are cut down. But I think on Sunday morning we're playing at CG, so all should be good. We'll go over all these semi-states throughout the state of Indiana in girls basketball, and then some collegiate conversation with Bob Lovell. That is coming up at the bottom of the hour. Mike Wells of ESPN Radio a little bit later on, too. I've got a lot of apologizing to do to Mike. I was supposed to take us all, and I mean Mike and Manny and Derek White, to New Edition last night. I failed miserably. And I'm not a failure. Well, not in that way. There are a lot of failures that I take on, but not in that particular way. So my apologies to Mike. Speaking of last night, it was probably good that I was around. I do want to give a heads up, and we're thinking about you down in Bloomington. I saw on the west side, and most of the tornado touchdown took place in what is known as Highland Village on the west side of Bloomington, but I did see a lot of damage in and around the Liberty Drive location of Menards. The West 3rd Street location, Hardee's. There's a former Farmers and Mechanics, which now I think is a Fifth Third Bank location down there too, that had roof damage. And also some homes basically from Kirby Road or Airport Road, if you will, all the way moving east through Highland Village had damage because there were some tornadoes that touched down. Hopefully, if you dealt with the weather last night, which certainly in south central Indiana was more of a challenge than it was in centralized downtown Indianapolis or, for example, on the north side, we are thinking about you today because I know that there's some cleanup being done down in Monroe County, certainly on this afternoon. So hopefully everything went okay for everybody with the weather that took place last night as well. I mentioned Mike Wells is going to join us coming up a little bit later on. Mike DeCourcy is going to be here from the Big Ten Network. Got a lot of college basketball conversation. And you're going to love this. Me and the head coach of the number one team in the nation, the Michigan Wolverines, they are playing on the road on a neutral site in D.C. against Duke coming up tomorrow evening at 6:30. Dusty May is the head coach of the number one ranked and one loss Wolverines. Dusty is going to join me coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. And the thing that you're going to notice, it's funny. Normally you would say, why do you having a Michigan coach on? This is Indianapolis. Nobody cares. But we are so going to localize this for you. You're going to love it. And that's what he does. He's always so great about that. We are not only localizing it for you here in Indy, but also going to localize it for you if you're listening down in and around Bloomington or in GC. There's going to be some good conversation coming with the head coach of the Wolverines of Michigan and Dusty May coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. You know, we were talking about this a little bit earlier today because we knew we were going to have this conversation. And he could not, and I'm sure he'll go a little bit more in detail with this coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. And I don't know if this is meaningful for Boilermaker fans or not. But I know because somebody like me, I'd been a bit critical regarding Trey Kaufman-Renn. And obviously you're going to see IU-Purdue coming up later on tonight. But I've been a little bit critical about Trey Kaufman-Renn. I wanted to see him get more engaged, more enthusiastic, and there were times when he didn't look like he was playing that particular role. But he did, and it was a loss, and for Boilermaker fans and the Boilermakers themselves, it was a bummer. But if there was one thing that I took away from that was how engaged he certainly was. And Dusty and I had talked about just how huge a part of the game plan he was, and how Dusty actually questioned the game plan and how they were dealing with Kaufman-Renn on Tuesday night at Mackey to his assistants that said, hey, this is how I think we should go about this. And he was questioning that with his impression of Kaufman-Renn. We'll go over that with Dusty coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. A little bit more in detail, in depth on the season so far for him. And certainly what's going to go down coming up tomorrow night for Michigan and Duke and D.C. Dusty May is going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Tim McGraw tickets we have to give away and a lot more for you. Pacers a loser last night, 112-105 in Washington. The Wizards, they get the Wizards, a back-to-back situation later on tonight again at 7 o'clock. I will tell you this. I don't care any longer. The whole dialogue about the tanking stuff can just take a big smooch off my rear. I don't care. I do not care because it just doesn't matter. I know it sounds like a quote from Meatballs with the great Bill Murray, but it just doesn't matter any longer. You know, all these rules and all these details and what they're going to try to do, ultimately to detour what they believe to be a high level of tanking, they can do that next year. What matters to me is the now, is the moment, and what happens moving forward. And I'm talking about this year. So the rest of it, who cares? The rest of it, who cares? So Big Perk and others can complain about it nationally, and it doesn't matter. There were moments last night when you saw this team working, and then there were other moments when you thought, well, this is just a bad team. But there's been no team, really. No team that we have seen that has been compromised more out of injuries than this Pacer team has this season. So, Adam Silver in the NBA, can you just give folks around here a small break with the emotional roller coaster they've been on for a second and stop pissing and moaning about everything? Yeah, if you want to figure it out, figure it out. Figure that stuff out next year. That's great. We don't care a damn note about what you figure out going into this year. Hopefully, things fall into good fortune for the Pacers coming up on Mother's Day. 112-105, the Wizards over the Pacers last night. Same two coming up later on tonight. The Pacers back at home against the Mavericks coming up at 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. We got that. Benedict Mathurin had an awesome night if you watched that. I stayed up late because I'm a huge fan of Mathurin. We'll get into that in a second. But on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, we're going to figure out where he is either on the road or already up in West Lafayette. I do know this, that he's going to miss our Friday gathering at our table. So somebody's going to have to pick up the slack, and that somebody would be me. Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, with us. I got your back tonight, both you and Susie. I'm going to make my appearance there.
Well, absolutely. You should be able to do that because you're just one of a kind, and you should be able sub in for us.
Yeah, I'm going to be subbing in right there. I'm pretty good. I may be sixth man of the year in terms of drinking beer and subbing in like that at the bar.
Well, if that's your calling, John, that's what you should take up, man.
You got to be good at something, Don. All right, so that's what I'm going to lean on. I'm really good at that. So have we left? Are we on the road? Where are we at this point in time, Don?
Haven't left yet. We don't go up to Purdue or to Illinois. We always go on. The only way we would go early, like stay overnight or that kind of thing, is if we had a really, really early ball game. So, no, we're going up. We're going to be out of here in about 35 minutes.
Well, are you driving?
Yes.
No, so you'll be up there in about 35 minutes. You'll leave in 35 minutes and be up there in 35 minutes because of the Don Fisher lead foot rule.
Well, I had an all-time record going to Champaign. I think it was an hour and a half.
I'm telling you, I love that. See, I think I'm wearing off on you a little bit. Am I wearing off on you just a little bit? Just a little bit?
I don't know. Do you have as heavy a foot as I?
I do. I have a heavy foot, and I like to tell everybody about stuff that maybe normally we wouldn't be telling everybody about.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said anything. I hope my wife's not listening.
Hey, the other thing I did want to talk about, and before we get to the game itself, coming up tonight in Mackey Arena, West Lafayette. So, yeah, I know last week you were coming back from Florida. You played golf. You got back just in time, obviously, for the weekend. They had that gathering over in Champaign for you. But I got a Ted Bishop note, too. So do I gather there was some cussing going on the golf course down there?
I can't conceive that possibly could have happened.
I got quotes here. I got quotes.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I got quotes. I love it, though, because that's exactly the same thing I say when I miss a jumper, which is often.
Well, as you know, my golf game, especially at the beginning of the year, is usually pretty horrific, and therefore there is always a little temper tantrum now and then. So,
oh man, I do that all the time, and I don't talk junk to anybody else except me. It's all about me. I just care about me in this case, and it's funny. So yeah, Ted had mentioned that he was a part of. Shall I say, the entourage to Florida to play golf. And he gave me some direct quotes, which I think is absolutely awesome. So,
well, I think the rest of us will probably give him a little bit of grief after having divulged all these kinds of things.
I kind of wondered where you stood on that. I thought that he felt comfortable enough to tell me that you were okay with it. Is that fair?
I don't know. I don't know if it's fair or not. We're going to find out.
Yeah, we will find out. We're also going to find out about this Hoosier team. Don, things went down in Champaign on Sunday, kind of like what I think we thought they would go down, because Illinois is a talented team. But that first impression we got with IU and Purdue, IU looked really good, and they beat Purdue. Purdue's coming off that loss on Tuesday night to Michigan. IU Mackey Arena, the weird-ass 8 o'clock tip time on a Friday night. What do you think you're going to see from Darren DeVries and his team tonight?
Well, I look at it this way. This is the first time that Darren and this team has played in Mackey Arena. I don't think any of these players have ever experienced the Mackey Boilers, the fanatic Boilermaker student body, and what they're about to face in that context. Now they certainly faced it in Champaign because the Orange, obviously, or the Orange Crush they call them, the student body over there, was tremendous in making noise. And of course, in that building, they usually turn up the volume on the bass about to a point of decibel level of which you cannot deal with. But my point is it's going to be loud, and it's going to be interesting to see how Indiana handles that. I think they'll handle it well because they've been in these scenarios before. But obviously in Champaign, that second half, I thought the difference in that ball game was how Illinois played, especially in the second half defensively. That's the first time this year, I think, that we've seen an Indiana basketball team that just didn't have any – they were frustrated after a while. They got frustrated because they couldn't knock down shots, and they certainly didn't rebound very well in the ball game. And I think those are things that Darren's been talking about now for the last several days, that we can't have that. And My gut feeling is Indiana's going to give Purdue a game tonight. I don't know if they can win in Mackey Arena because that's a tough place to play. But I do know this. These guys usually rise to the elevation of what they need to play in a really important ball game.
So Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, 7 o'clock, 93 WIBC, 8 o'clock is that tip time. A Friday night from Mackey Arena in West Lafayette, and then more as if you need a little bit more of an edge. And maybe this is probably over-glamorized a little bit here, but you got a Purdue team coming off a stinging home loss to Michigan. So I think that we're going to see a lot of what this IU team is right now by virtue of what they do against Purdue tonight. I think that's fair to say.
Well, yeah, and I mean every ball game has its own, its own positives and negatives, and without question, Indiana had those against Illinois. They were positive in the first half, not so much in the second half. And I think this will be a ball game that kind of mirrors that a little bit, except that if Indiana can't play any better than they did in the second half of the game against the Illini, then I think the Hoosiers are in a bit of trouble. But here's the thing. You're playing another really outstanding basketball team, and you've got to win one of these. And they did win the first time they played Purdue, so I think that levels into a confidence scenario that you got to believe that you can do it. And I think that's the one thing that's in Indiana's favor in that context.
Yeah, and I tell you what always, any team benefits from this, but incredibly speaking, it all revolves around outside shooting. If threes are made, then you're feeling, and again, that's any team, but especially you magnify that with this Hoosier team. If they make threes, they can beat mostly anybody. If they don't, they can lose to nearly anybody.
That's right. That's exactly right. There's one thing about this team that if they don't shoot it well, they've got to at least rebound well. And that's been probably their Achilles heel most of this season. They are not a great rebounding team because they are size limited. And the physicality of most of the Big Ten teams inside is pretty significant. And so that's where Indiana cannot fall down in this matchup because Purdue can rebound. They got two really good rebounders in Coppin Wren and, of course, Klump. And Indiana's going to have to get to the boards tonight, and they've got to be physical with it because that's the one thing this team has not done well this year is rebound on a consistent basis.
We have seen Tucker DeVries, when necessary, become more physical and be that rebounding presence. The problem is that takes away from also what is a need for this team, and that is outside shooting, three-point shooting. Where do you draw the line there on what is necessary to rebound, but also what could also take away from something that if you don't have the likely portion of this game, you're going to lose? Well, and here's the thing, John, in my opinion, Indiana's defense has to play better tonight too. I think that's another key in this ball game. I think if you can play really good sound defense in a game like this and give their guards problems, which I think that's been the formula for against Purdue ever since Indiana's, in the last 3 or 4 years for Indiana. When they won ball games, they've at least neutralized to some degree that guard play. And if they can do that tonight, then they'll be in the ball game and they'll be in it throughout. If they can't do that, then they're in real trouble because Kaufman Wren is a load inside, but those guards, if they get going and are able to knock down threes, and they couldn't do that in the game against Michigan. I mean, that was a big difference in the Michigan game. They did not shoot threes well at all. And if Indiana can do the same thing and put them in a tough spot as far as shooting threes, then I think Indiana's got a really legit chance. Yeah, 8 o'clock tonight, that tip time, 7 o'clock, your coverage begins, 93 WIBC. The last time IU beat Purdue in game number 1 of this season, Nick Dorn was an essential portion of that with 18. And a lot of games since that point in time, it has been a struggle bus for Dorn. Is it essential for him to get back on track tonight in this environment to do what he did in that first matchup in Bloomington where IU won? I don't think there's any question that Nick is going to have to play well tonight because his three-point shooting is a big difference in this basketball team. There's no question about that. And when he came on board as a starter, I think maybe 6-7 games ago, he was fantastic and did a terrific job in that context. Now, I can't tell you that I think he's just been in a little bit of a slump, and he needs to see 1 or 2 go down, and I think he'll be back. But that's basically the mentality of all shooters, as you know.
But my point is, I think Nick is one of those guys that's really important to this team because he gives them a third option as far as shooting the three ball.
And no doubt about that, too. It just, this team was really smooth when he was knocking down shots. And that's kind of where you are right now, because if that capacity of your game fails, then more than likely it is going to be a struggle, especially in that environment and a team of that particular magnitude that you're going to see later on tonight. And, yeah, I would agree. It's all hands on deck anyway, but I think especially I will highlight him as somebody that has to see, as you mentioned, a shot go down to build back that confidence that clearly he has not had recently.
No, and that goes for Tucker, and it goes for Lamar, too. I mean, three-point shooting for this team is one of the most important factors, and we heard Darren DeVries talk about that in his very first press conference when he was introduced to Indiana basketball and to the news people that were there. He talked about the very fact that they put an ultimate amount of positiveness in guys that can shoot the three ball. And that's one of the real keys in college basketball today. You've got to have three-point shooters. It's that simple. And Indiana hasn't had that for a long time until this season. Now the difference is right now that they are still limited in that rebounding area a little bit. And they're still limited in the depth of this basketball team because they've had injuries this year. They've had all kinds of problems with that area. And when all hands are on deck, it's a different ball club. But we haven't really had that, especially guys coming off the bench of late, because they have not produced as, they don't have to shoot, they don't have to knock down double-figure scoring areas, but we've had two or three of those guys coming off the bench and they haven't scored a point. So that's a big factor too.
The one thing that I think we have seen evolve is the play of Sam Alexis. I want to say the first game, there wasn't much consequence there, but since that point in time, I've really been impressed with how he has raised the bar on this game down low for this team.
And that's one of the reasons that they've been pretty successful in this last 7-game stretch. They've won 5 of those games. Sam has been a big part of that in most of them here of late. And it gives them another way to score the basketball, especially inside. They haven't had much of that most of the year. When they have had, they've been able to spread the floor enough with the three-point shot if it was going down that made it easier for those guys inside. But Sam Alexis has come around and really started to play his best basketball of the year. And I think that's going to be an important factor in this game tonight as well.
Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So you're going to leave in about what here? 15 minutes, 20 minutes? Is that what we're thinking?
Yep. In that ballpark. You don't need to point that out to everybody so that they'll be watching the highways, for goodness sake.
Oh, man, they're going to let you go. You're Don Fisher. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, that doesn't mean a daggone thing.
No, are you rolling solo? Do you have people in there with you?
No, I'll have Jake and Eric with me, so we'll be good.
Oh, man. Oh, so you're taking see, that's so savvy. The engineer and then the analyst. That's good right there. That's well done. You can leave Herrick behind. No, but yeah, it's all right. But yeah, you got to take the analyst and you got to take the engineer.
Exactly. You got to have somebody you can blame it on if something goes wrong.
Well, believe me, I know Jake. I've known Jake for years. There's going to be nothing going wrong with Jake on the scene right there. Let me tell you.
No, he's pretty good. He's pretty good.
All right. So I'm going to hold up the honor of our Friday nights. I have not called Joe or Ginger yet to make sure I have a stool there at the bar, but I'm going. Game time, 8:00. Should I call?
I think you probably got your name on one of those stools already.
I know my name's been on a couple kegs there. That makes me feel good.
Take Hagen with you.
Oh, my God. Hagen did call me last night, and I forgot to call him back. I thought it was so Mississippi State had some little guard score like 40 or something and 30-something in the first half. And Don, I don't want to talk about this, so I didn't answer it.
Well, he's supposed to be your bud.
He is my buddy, but I didn't want to talk about Mississippi State basketball at that moment. So, We will get him back down there relatively soon. All right, hey, you guys, safe travels up there. We'll be listing. So 7 o'clock pregame coverage, 8 o'clock, of course, the IU Radio Network and 93 WIBC got you covered here in Central Indiana, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher. I will give Joe and Ginger your best and hold up the honor of our Friday night group down there and watch you guys do some work tonight, okay?
I appreciate it, big boy.
Thanks, Don. Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Love it. Hey, by the way, Joe and Ginger at our table, just make sure I need to have a bar seat. I'm going to watch IU, I think, from our table tonight. You guys carve out a little spot for me down there. Make sure. And by the way, if you're going and you want to sit next, that's fine too. Quick break, we'll come back. Bob Lovell on the other side. Mike Wells still to come. Mike DeCourcy on the show. Dusty May, the head coach of Michigan, on the show. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Team USA men's hockey, 1-0 over Slovakia. They get a first period goal. The winner of this one gets Canada in the gold medal game as the Canadians have moved on. 1-0 Team USA. We'll keep you updated. 12-minute mark of the first period in Italy right now. This is a semifinal matchup in men's hockey. Keep you updated. Don't go anywhere. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, Johnny, for LD Smith Plumbing, the best in plumbing. That's LD Smith Plumbing and Drains at 317-927-7186. So a lot of rainfall, a lot of meltage, compromised drains. So situations where water could be standing, you don't want any part of that. And especially if you don't have sump pump battery backup. Hey, I lived in this world before, and it is not good and not good at all. Have a sump pump battery backup, buy the battery, and get the most tremendous deal of all time right now from LD Smith Plumbing and Drains on that sump pump to make sure you are secure and sound in your home and you battle against that water possibility of a backup or heavy water, meltage, heavy rain, especially this time of year. And any plumbing issues that you have, you got to go with the best. Lance and his local team, LD Smith Plumbing and Drains, 317-927-7186 online, ldsmithplumbing.com.
The Ride with JMV.
I'm the boy's friend.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Don Fisher with IU-Purdue Part 2 later on tonight, 8 o'clock. Yeah, our table in Bargersville. Joe and Ginger carve out a spot for me. I'll be there. Watch the game sit right there. If anybody else wants to go, let me know. Yeah, good times. Mike Wells, Mike DeCourcy still to come. Dusty May, the head coach of Michigan Wolverines, and Duke coming up on tomorrow's show. I'm going to tell you what, and not you, Nick, this is others. The text line of 317-239-1070, it is rotten with smartassery right now. And you guys are going to have to be dealt with. Don't make me deal with you. I don't want to have to deal with you. Just be nice. No jackassery today. We're having too good a time, James, to have any levels of jackassery. But if I do see it, I'm going to deal with it, and you're not going to like it.
People getting a little bit
you're
mouthy
get,
in there?
You're going to get butthurt. I don't want to hear about your butthurtedness, especially when you start the blank. Just don't be that way. Take the advice of our good friend, the late, great Patrick Swayze, Dalton, and the 1989 classic Roadhouse. Be nice. Be nice. All right, quick break. Actually, no. Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Indiana Sports Talk this weekend, tonight, tomorrow night. He's going to have you covered because there's a lot of stuff going on. Bob Lovell, who joins us now. Hello, Bob. How are you?
I'm great, John. How are you?
I almost sent us to break accidentally right there. That would have been tragic.
It's all right. I understand how you feel about me. I'm just one of those obligations you have to get through. You have to get to the rest of the show. So I understand.
It is all good. I'm sure that you recognize this and you've seen it. And before we get to college and all that is going on, and I want you to recognize number 500, Thad Matta, that he got the other night on the road in Georgetown as the head coach of Butler, because that is such a significant achievement. It needs certainly somebody that would understand as a former college coach. But this semi-state for the girls, it's loaded up across the state of Indiana at sites. Tomorrow is going to be fun.
Well, obviously it's going to be fun because it's tournament time. And it's one of those things, John, where hard to believe that we're at the region semi-state round right now. And so, you just one step closer to playing for a state championship, and this is a big weekend. Next week, obviously, be a championship weekend, but there's some really intriguing matchups all the way around.
Well, tell me which site. We can start with Southport, maybe go down to Jasper. Which site intrigues you the most as far as the matchups for the semi-state are concerned, whatever class?
Well, let's stay. You talk about it. Jasper is a site where, Lawrence Central is there, Center Grove. So Jasper is the site, as we mentioned. Floyd Central plays Lawrence Central in the first game. LC is 121. Floyd is a good team, 23 wins. I would dare say that competition for LC might be just a little bit better. The second game, Center Grove and Evansville Rights. Center Grove is on one of those, you know this better than I, on one of those magical runs right now, 26-0, and everything they do very, very well. And so that is an intriguing semi-state. Again, semi-state. Center Grove played Evansville Rights. Rights is 21-2. Floyd Central, Lawrence Central, a great matchup. And if you go to Southport, Washington takes on Jennings County, and Northview plays Roncalli, and Roncalli is, I know 25-3, played a difficult schedule. They're really, really good. So you tell me which one's the better one of the two. I think they're really both pretty good.
I'm kind of caught in the middle right here because you got CG and Jasper and Wrights, and we have Spencer Thompson of Thompson Furniture, who's a Columbus North guy and knows exactly about Wrights because I think they disposed of Columbus North in the regional. And then I think on the other side, you got Floyd Central and Lawrence Central. That seems to be pretty loaded up for Jasper. Plus, in Jasper, you have the greatness of the Schnitzelbank and Snaps down there, too. So that's a hell of an afternoon.
Yeah. Just to drive down to go to the Schnips is enough, quite frankly. But no, I mean, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you were down there, didn't stop by the world-famous Schnitzelbank and go there and have dinner and watch some great basketball.
So I was thinking about this as well. I don't know too much about them, but I do know that Pike was one of the teams in the state, and I do know that Lawrence Central got past them in the regional to advance to the semi-state. And, historically speaking, this is one of the elite-level teams in the state of Indiana here in recent history, to say the least. What about the Bears in that matchup of Floyd Central in that semifinal, the semi-state?
Well, they've been on quite a run in the last few years. Incredibly talented. Obviously, again, they're a team that has been able to accomplish quite a bit to this point. And you talk about talent; they have their fair share of it. I just am intrigued by the fact that night in and night out, when you're playing in Marion County like they are, and you compete with the teams here in Central Indiana, which they've done, and they handle most of them with ease. So they're defensively, they're really, really good. They're difficult to match up with in certain spots, and so I think it's made them one of the reasons why they've been so difficult to play and had such great success. Is they are multi-talented. They're quick. They're aggressive to the rim, and they will defend you.
They've had to deal with an exit of a player, too, as well, which is always kind of difficult. And I'm going to get to another storyline involving the boys with that in a second. But an interesting note about LC, they haven't lost to an Indiana in-state team. They lost to two Ohio teams, and then they lost early in the season to Pike. They avenged that. And then prior to that, they lost to Ron Colley, and Coach Sims's team also in the semi-state. So that is a very impressive resume. This team has been playing high-level basketball for more than a couple of months now.
Well, they've been playing high-level basketball for years, quite frankly, the last 4 or 5 years. And so you mentioned it. No one in the state has beaten them to this point. They're a difficult matchup at all 5 spots, and they guard you. They can score. They, in many ways, are on a roll that's difficult to slow down, quite frankly.
A lot of good matchups, certainly in the semi-state throughout the state of Indiana coming up tomorrow, and we'll keep track of that. Bob's got you covered, Indiana Sports Talk tonight, tomorrow night, too. I had somebody that lobbed this question in for you. Can you ask Bob about the Josh Henderson situation? And that's the son of former IU star and standout Alan Henderson, who was at university, who went out of University High School. Now he is enrolled at Carmel, and I guess at some point in, around the 21st of March, would be eligible to play there. Do we know what's going on with that situation? I'm not privy to it, so I don't know. I'll defer to you. What's happening there that would pertain, I guess, to what we're talking about right now with basketball?
I don't have any personal information. I caught Kyle Neddenrip's interview earlier today on Jake's show, and he talked about the statement that the family made. It was a developmental situation. They're seeking more development, and didn't cite any reasons particularly why. I think what's uncommon is the timing. We understand people leave programs and enter programs and all that, but to do it in February ahead of the pairings and ahead of the tournament is a little unusual, and so you automatically start to think that there's something nefarious afoot, if you will, and that's not the case. I think we've been told that that's clearly not the case. It's just a family decision, personal decision, and a lot of details are lacking, which also makes it something where people are going to try to fill in the blanks. So I don't really know that much other than what Kyle said earlier today, and certainly wish the family the best on the decision.
Yeah, Yeah, on the surface, you just say you leave your high school. Yeah, I don't know. When I was in high school, things have changed, right? I mean, hell, we're talking about how many things have changed, almost 40 years ago to when I was back in high school. But that's a tough one right there, leaving dudes that you played with and battled with this late in the season like that, regardless of the circumstances. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I will say this: nothing in the realm of any of this right now, high school wise, collegiate wise, nothing surprises me any longer, and that's what's really frightening about it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, obviously, I've been in this longer than you. I've been in it a long time, and I am unsurprised when things happen, and I just think that it's a different world, quite frankly. It's different in a number of respects, and you and I, especially me, we are those old white guys, and so life has changed for us. So, and in terms of movement, freedom of movement in sports, either at the high school or college level, it's a brand new world. And the argument clearly is, giving people the opportunity to pursue dreams and make changes. And that's what our culture is about, and that's what happens. And, so it is a much different situation on the athletic scene than you and I were used to back when we were competing or even when I was coaching.
All right, keep everybody updated later on tonight and tomorrow night, too, because you're going to have a lot on the table. All right, a lot of people are going to be listening, and I know you're going to be fantastic as usual, Bob. I appreciate you.
I appreciate the kind words, John. Thank you.
Bob Lovell of Indiana Sports Talk. That's tonight, tomorrow night. State of Indiana, Network Indiana affiliation. I did mention this, too, because you know how much I love the Schnitzelbank down in Jasper. So, what did I say? LCers are going down there. Grovers are going down there. So, let's just say, for example, you go, you the salad bar or the big, the German fare or the Das Boot beer. Maybe that doesn't intrigue you. There is also another spot down there that I've kind of fallen in love with. It's called Snaps. So if you're going down from central Indiana, maybe El Sears over on the northeast side, Grover's, I mean, hell, I could tell all you guys that there's a couple places to go down there in Jasper, and they are both incredible. Now, Allen and the Schnitzelbank will always have my heart. Always. Always the place to go. And you can, spend the night, right across the parking lot in the Hampton Inn. So you can do whatever you do, damage-wise, right across the parking lot, and then just kind of wobble back over to your room. It's beautiful. Snaps is also a great spot down there, too. So, if you're going, just wanted to make sure you were in the know for Jasper, Indiana coming up tomorrow. And good luck to all the teams out there, especially local teams and those that listen to the show that have kids, maybe family, friends involved. Good luck to you on the eve of semi-state action for the girls. That is coming up tomorrow throughout the state of Indiana. IU-Purdue later on tonight, 8 o'clock, that tip time. 7 o'clock, coverage begins, 93 WIBC. Mike Wells, Mike DeCourcy, head coach of Michigan, #1 Wolverines and Duke tomorrow. Dusty May joins us in the 5 o'clock hour. Tim McGraw tickets. And the reason why I stayed up and watched the Clippers until 1 a.m., I felt good about that. I'll explain coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Hey, JMV here for Big Red Liquors. Powers the JMV takeover every Saturday night on B105.7. Hey, let's start with this, too. 100-plus locations, making sure you are stocked up and good to go. 4 rows of small batch, $5 off right now. Those are reliable bottles you will absolutely love, and especially for that great price. What an incredible taste. 4 Roses, small batch. How about beer? Modelo 24 packs, Yingling 24 packs, the old standbys in our world, Busch or the High Life 12 packs. You're going to save there too. And if you're of the small bottle fame, maybe they call them airplane bottles, if you like those, Fireball, 2 for $3. That'll get you started on the right path this weekend at Big Red Liquors. 100-plus locations, state of Indiana, powers the JMV takeover, just like it will do coming up tomorrow night, 6 until midnight on B105.7. To find that location nearest you, to make sure you have yourself one heck of a weekend. Team USA, by the way, just scored again. You can find it online, BigRedLiquors.com.
The Ride with JMV.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a I want you to be nice.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Up the middle from Orensky. Larkin scores! 1-0 United States.
Dylan Larkin, according to Kenny Albert, put the Americans on the board first, and then they added a Thompson goal at the end of the first. 2-0, the Americans over Slovakia as they hit the first intermission. The winner of Team USA and Slovakia will get Canada, who beat Finland earlier today in the gold medal game. Team USA on their way, 2-0 at the intermission. Right now, the first intermission in Italy in that semifinal men's hockey match for you. I'm assuming now I'll be at the NFL Combine on Tuesday, James, because I believe Shane Steichen, good to see you, Spitz. Good to see you, man. I believe Shane Steichen is on the show on Tuesday. So does that mean I go to the Combine Tuesday?
I'd probably say so.
Hey, quick heads up. I am not here on Monday. And to save everybody the time, because I know everybody, when we were off for President's Day last Monday, everybody said, hey, are you guys fired? They go, no. Listen, they're going to fire me. It's going to be something more than that, I'm sure. But I am out on Monday. This is a true story right here. I am taking Blake to Cincinnati to see somebody named Excision. Not circumcision, Excision is his name. And I have been told by many out there that know more about Excision than I do that, yes, I do need earplugs. So, Excision in Cincinnati on Monday, Shane Steichen at the Combine on Tuesday. So, am I going to go all days or just the Shane Steichen Tuesday?
That's above my pay grade.
Because I think at the Combine, both Ballard and Steichen are on Tuesday. Can I get them both? That'd be great.
You know, Ballard just loves talking to you.
He loves to talk. Here's how you're going to know if it's like this. I don't blame him either. I sit here every day and say, hey, you guys need to be gone. So what else? How else would he act? Because you go back to the one when we did like 2-3 years ago and his arms are crossed the entire time.
He was not a happy camper.
He was not. He was not enjoying being there. Nor would I. Because, listen, much like him, I don't want to sit around with a jackass either. And he was probably thinking, I'm sitting around with this jackass. So, no, true story. Shane Steichen on the show, as I'm assuming I'll be live at the Combine coming up on Tuesday. There you go. What, Shane Steichen at 4:30? What do you think I can cobble together guest-wise there? I always love it. There are 9 IU dudes. Surely to God I can get one of them. Like one of them.
You can at least get the
9 IU guys.
You can at least get, the janitor that comes by at the end of the day.
Kurt Signetti, by the way, $13.2 million. He got a raise. And before you say, I can't believe they did that, that's too much money, please realize me saying this to you, my ass. They just won a national title. As Teddy KGB famously said in Rounders, James, pay him. Pay that man his money. That is so true. It does not matter. It is all good in the neighborhood. 13.2. You just won. Can you imagine? You would have flippantly said, no matter who the coach was, if IU football ever were to win a national title, you say, hey, well, pay the coach whatever he wants. Well, there you go. Put your money where your mouth is. And by the way, shout out to Scott Dolson, the AD, who continues to orchestrate this the way you should orchestrate it. When you got something going right, keep something going right. When you have the resources to continue something going right, utilize it. Shout out to Scott Dolson for that. Mike Wells, Mike DeCourcy, Dusty May, all still to come. 4 o'clock hour, that's hour 2 to you and me just ahead. Also, Tim McGraw tickets to give away. IU-Purdue round 2, Mackey Arena, West Lafayette. Tip time tonight, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, your coverage, 93 WIBC. But don't go anywhere. Back with you on the other side on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John here for the District Tap. Hey, seriously, you got so much going on sports-wise. What a great place. Let's just say, for example, the family is saying, hey, we want to go out. Dad, hey, we want to go out and have a good time. Well, you could go out and have a good family time while also making sure you take advantage of watching everything that is going on. And on a night like tonight, you got IU, you got Purdue. A night like tonight, you got Pacer action, you got other stuff happening too. Hey, just make sure you take advantage of that at the District Tap. The District Tap, 2 locations, Clearwater Crossing, downtown Indy. Damn good food. You got happy hour specials. You have everything that you need to be entertained. It is essential. A destination location at the District Tap. Ask about the live music. Ask about the private rooms. Ask about the event space for parties that they have too. And keep in mind, Sunday, Pacers back in town, a block from the field house, post up, post game at the District Tap downtown. For more info, online, thedistricttap.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So as I mentioned, Team USA 2-0 over Slovakia. They're going to get ready to start the second period of play. Semifinal men's hockey. The winner gets the Canadians in the gold medal game. Keep track of that. Next week at the Combine, Shane Steichen, Colts head coach, on a Tuesday with us. Later on in the show, Dusty May, the head coach of number 1 Michigan. Michigan in D.C. getting Duke coming up tomorrow evening. Dusty joins us in the 5 o'clock hour. Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, a little bit earlier. You have IU-Purdue round 2 at Mackey coming up later on tonight. That tip time, 8 o'clock on Fox. You can catch that 93 WIBC with your coverage beginning at 7. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from the aforementioned Fox, Big Ten Network, NCAA bracketology, he's multifunctional. Mike DeCourcy joins us now on this Friday. Hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm well, JMV. How are you?
Multifunctional is how I describe
my
you.
wife would say that's definitely not true.
All right. The bearing you think that this round number 2, as I mentioned, IU-Purdue at Mackey later on tonight, holds as far as future reference is concerned, with IU also having that win earlier this year down in Bloomington?
Well, I think it's huge for Purdue because they need to get back to who they are, who they've been. They haven't played as poorly of late as many are perceiving because they got beaten as badly as they did by Michigan, but that's a pretty common occurrence at this stage. I don't think you can judge your season by how you play against Michigan at this point. But I think that since the losing streak, they've gotten back around to who they are, but certainly that would be undermined by a loss to Indiana and would certainly influence where they stand in the Big Ten standings, where they would wind up in the Big Ten bracket, as well as the NCAAs.
So Mike DeCourcy joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. All right, a couple of games. You mentioned that Michigan game, and Michigan looks really good right now. We'll talk about Dusty team versus Duke coming up tomorrow night in just a second within the Big Ten, or at least non-conference play here. But, yeah, Purdue got that loss on Tuesday night at home against Michigan. IU goes on the road in Champaign last time out, and they take an L against Illinois. I don't know how much you take away from that. It's almost like this is clearly one of those wipe the slate clean and make sure you take care of your business Friday nights, I think, at Mackey for both of these teams, Mike, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. I think that we have seen that Indiana has, over the last, I don't know, maybe half dozen, maybe more games against Purdue, they've raised their level to where it's needed to be in a large number of those games. I mean, I think back to last year when Indiana was fighting for its tournament existence and ultimately did not quite get there. But that game that Trey Kaufman ran one with the short shot from inside the foul line on a Friday night, and that Purdue team was significantly better than Indiana. I know it's a cliche, but rivalry games are different. And so I won't use the cliche that says that, but rivalry games are different. And that can mean a lot of different things, but it most often means they're more competitive. On occasion, it means that one team is a little bit more ready or a little bit more desperate or whatever. But it most often means they're more competitive than the game would ordinarily be based on where the two teams stand. And right now, Indiana going to Purdue should be a challenging game for Purdue, but not an overly difficult one. And I don't think anyone at Purdue is expecting that tonight.
You look at Indiana, and clearly they've done some work to put themselves in position right now. And there's a lot more work to be done here. But how solidly in your bracketology do you have the Hoosiers in the field as we speak?
Yeah, I mean, usually when you get to the one thing that is problematic for Indiana is the relative absence or relative lack of quad one wins. That's the one thing that doesn't look good. Everything else looks fine. Their resume metrics are good enough. Their predictive metrics, the Ken Palm and that sort of thing that incorporate efficiency and margin of victory and all that sort of stuff. They're great in that department, and I think that helps them a lot. You'd like to see more of those high-end wins if you could, and obviously tonight would be a great example of that if they could get it. But to have a sweep over Purdue and a road win at UCLA, and I think people would stop picking at that point relative to getting in. But what I was starting to say is that usually when you're in the spot that they're in, there are teams behind you that are having much greater difficulties than you. And if you look at it, UCLA right now is certainly struggling to find it. They fell out of my field today. Ohio State got it right the other night against Wisconsin, and that helped them, and that put them in my field. But that's not generally been what they've done. Right now, 3 of my 4 teams in Dayton are basically mid-majors. And I don't think that's how it'll end up, but it's just hard to find a major conference team. Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, TCU. Every time you think they're ready to go in, they find a way to tell you, no, we're not a tournament team.
Hey, Mike, is this the type of season with the landscape going on with the major conferences that a team like Miami of Ohio, if they don't win their conference, would still get an at-large, or would get an at-large, or is that still within high question?
Well, it's still a question because they have, I think, 4 or 5 remaining regular season games. And none of those games would represent a truly acceptable loss for any at-large candidate. They're all against 150, 160, 200 something in the net. So now, if they get into the MAC with an undefeated record, I believe they will make it. And I'm totally convinced that if they won their first game in the MAC tournament, and just so they don't lose short of the semis, that they would get in. And I'm fully convinced, like more than 100%, if such a thing existed, if indeed they were able to play in the final against Akron or Kent State and lose that. Because at that point, they're losing one game all season and to a quality team that they've already defeated once. So I think at that point, I just don't see how they could be left out.
Are they the best of the best of the mid-majors, in your opinion, right now?
No, I would probably say somebody like Utah State is better. I would look at St. Mary's as probably being better. But this is a really terrific team. It's not reflected by their schedule. The schedule was not good enough. Playing 3 non-Division I teams, I know that Travis Steele and many others find difficulty getting games. One of the things that frustrates me is, look, the smart mid-majors, they are scheduling each other. I mean, the VCU, Utah State, Santa Clara, those teams all played each other in some form. When I was trying to do my bracket today, every time I tried to put VCU or Utah or playing Utah State or Utah State playing Santa Clara, I couldn't do it because they played already. And you're not allowed to have a rematch in the first round. So those are the smart ones, and they're the ones that are going to make it. More mid-majors need to do that instead of just complaining Duke won't play us.
So Mike DeCourcy, Fox, Big Ten Network, NCAA bracketology is kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I did want to double back to Purdue for just a moment. Is their MO going to be when you get against what is perceived to be or what we view as elite level athleticism in college basketball, that's going to be their ceiling? Or is that something you think, even with this group, because they've been together for so long, that's something you still have time, if you're Matt Painter and company, to figure out?
Well, if you look at it a year ago, they had lesser rim protection, lesser post protection than they do now. And they had a big problem with that in February. They really struggled in February of last year. And I remember Matt acknowledging that they just had no paint protection at all, and that was going to be a problem for them. And then they get in the NCAA tournament, they win 2, and then they play Houston, which, I mean, maybe doesn't have NBA-style athleticism on their team, but they made the championship game and were close to winning it. And they have some guys who will probably play in the league. And that Purdue team lost only by a bucket in the Sweet 16. So I think, look, are there, like, Michigan is ridiculous right now. And so I don't judge you based on how you play against Michigan. If you look at it, they've played other significant teams and been successful, and other very dynamic teams, Alabama being a great example of that. They won on Alabama's court, even though Alabama has an absolute lock NBA first-round guard in LeBaron Philon, and maybe 1 or 2 beyond that.
Mike DeCourcy's with us. Speaking of judging, how did let me put it this way. He's since apologized, but I'm curious, how are you judging Mick Cronin on a season where the outburst and just being salty certainly outweighs the productivity and the way that his team is playing right now? Because to me, his attitude is more of unequal to how his team is playing or the level they're not reaching compared to just, what else is going on around him. But how have you judged him, his outbursts, the apologies, and his team at UCLA this season within the Big Ten?
Well, the team has been a disappointment without a doubt. Now, some of that is that they never recovered from the loss of Adai Mara to Michigan, and Michigan has certainly benefited from that. It's been a huge part of why Michigan is maybe the best team in the country, and it's really caused UCLA. They didn't have the opportunity to replace him with anybody, let alone someone who's even close to that level. And so, but even beyond that, I think he's really frustrated by the absence of defensive effort. They have not been a Mick Cronin defensive team at all, and that's been very frustrating for him because it's always been the minimum of what a Mick Cronin team would be. And if they had great offensive ability like the 2021 team or the 2022 and 3 teams that were all relatively successful in the NCAA tournament, then they really had something. But they would always at least guard, and they would always win more than their share of games, and this team doesn't do it. They don't play hard enough, and they don't guard, and it has certainly caused him a lot of frustration that he's not always the best at containing when it's that close to the game. I've known Mick for 30 years. He's a really good guy, somebody that I really value and really like. And I don't like hearing people that don't know him well say negative things about him. And it reminds me about when I was young and Gene Cady was at Purdue, and he was slamming tables, and people thought, and he was being mean on sidelines, and people thought he was not a good guy. And then, as Gene got toward the end of his career, and I got a chance to meet him, and more people met him after he stopped coaching, and they're like, "This is the most wonderful person on the planet. Why did everybody think he was a bad guy?" And I would hope that more and more people would get a chance to see Mick in that light.
It's Mike DeCourcy, who is with us. So Michigan, Duke, Houston, Arizona. Obviously around here, we eyeball later on tonight at Mackey and West Lafayette. But as far as the big game, top 25 matchups, which one of those two you like most this weekend?
Oh, I think the Michigan-Duke game is fascinating because you're talking about two teams that are basically in the competition for the number 1 overall seed. And I think it's a fascinating matchup because Michigan has done so well. And it's interesting. It's hard to say they've improved because they beat Gonzaga by 40 points back in November. But I do think they're better now because I think Elliot Cadeau, their point guard, is playing better. I think L.J. Kaysen, who I've always really liked, the backup point guard, is saying, hey, if that guy doesn't do it, I'm here. He's a tremendous talent for a backup. And Trey McKinney, who starts on the bench because Namari Burnett is he's a culture guy. He's been there for a long time. You don't take that guy and put him on the bench for a freshman if you don't have to. But McKinney's starting to get more and more minutes and be really productive and the kind of NBA level talent that you have to have when you get to the biggest March games.
In the midst of doing your bracketology, how do you now view Texas Tech, and maybe not so much in terms of their team without JT Toppin for the remainder of the season, but who they've beaten, who they've lost to, just their overall resume? How do you view that with teams, for example, like Purdue, who beat them soundly earlier this season with Toppin compared to him no longer being there? If they happen to take a major slide because of that loss, how do you view that within your bracketology?
Yeah, unfortunately for Purdue, like if they did take a major slide, it's still going to wind up being a win over, I don't know, let's say the 30-net team instead of the 15-net team. Or I don't think it's possible for them to fall that far. They probably have to lose them all, and that won't happen. They're still a quality team. But if it did happen, then that's what would be the case. You would be judged as a team that has beaten maybe a quad 1 game goes to a quad 2 game or something like that, depending on where you had played them. But it's interesting for A&M. For Texas Tech. What they really have to do is they have to go out and sort of verify what they've done. I'm not a big fan of that. I never have been. I covered the Cincinnati Bearcats in 1999-2000, the season that Kenyon Martin was injured in the conference tournament, and I thought it was really bogus of the committee to knock them down a seed because they had no real justification for that. They had no evidence of what Cincinnati was without them. I mean, they might not have been a 2, but their record said they were a 1, and they did it anyway. And so I've never been a supporter of that. I think you should be judged on what you accomplished in your season. And if somebody goes out and that knocks them down a few lines because the results say that, fine. But don't just knock them down because, you don't have JT Toppin anymore, so how good can you be?
Yeah. But Mike DeCourcy's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So obviously around here, we're big fans of Braylon Mullins, the freshman in stores for UConn. And they took one on the chin earlier this week within the Big East at home against Creighton. How are you viewing the Huskies right now? Was that just kind of a midseason blah clunker, or is there more to this story right now to you?
Well, I think they are struggling a little bit to find rediscover, I should say, their winning formula. They've not been quite as efficient, quite as dynamic as they were earlier in the year. Braylon has, he's not been quite as good. I love his game, and I still think he's the biggest difference in what UConn can be and where it stands now. I still believe he's got a lot of great basketball in him this year. He's just got to find it again. And it's interesting because I still had them as a 1 seed. I worked on it for hours and agonized over it for hours. And I was originally going to take them off, and then I heard Dan Gavitt talking about how important the wins above bubble metric is. And so then this morning I was agonizing against it some more, and ultimately I picked UConn as the 1 seed over Iowa State and Houston. And I got reamed by people, even UConn fans, saying they're not a 1 seed because they play poorly lately. It's not just about what happened this week. It's about the whole season, and lots of teams, as I mentioned before, Purdue a year ago, didn't play great in February, played better in March, and they played really well in the NCAA tournament. It happens all the time.
So Mike DeCourcy, Fox, Big Ten Network, NCAA bracketology. What would you be? It's interesting because around here with the Pacers, hopefully eyeballing a 1 through 4 selection. We'll see how that works out with a good fortune of Mother's Day in the NBA draft lottery. But among those players that have been mentioned in those top 4 is Darren Peterson, the freshman for Bill Self at Kansas, who will more than occasionally check himself out of games, who won't play in games. How do you judge him over guys like Boozer or a kid from BYU or Wilson or anybody else in that top tier of players right now? How do you judge that?
Well, I from having lived a decade in Indianapolis, and my wife, who at one point in our married lives said, "There's too many sports. You're not allowed to make me watch the NBA. That one I'm erasing." And then after she went to work for a company there that had really good Pacers tickets, and we got them a few times. She said, she fell in love with the Pacers. So I can tell you, that as they went through the last couple of years, we really enjoyed watching them in the playoffs. Every game we're sitting there, and from that point of view, I want the Pacers to get the number 2 pick because I don't want them to have to think about taking Peterson. They need AJ DeBonta of BYU more than they need Darren Peterson. I know Peterson is a extraordinary talent. Just in terms of the ability to score, he is next level. We haven't seen his like since Kobe. Now that doesn't mean you become Kobe. You got to be out there all the time, and you got to be working all the time, and you've got to be as dedicated as Kobe was to greatness to be Kobe. If that's there, then he can get to that level in that neighborhood. Maybe he's a little bit below Kobe, or maybe he's as good. But I mean, if you're anywhere near there, you're really something. And the problem is, we never saw anything like this from Kobe. He was out there all the time. As long as he didn't have a broken bone or whatever, he was out there. And that's kind of how I look at AJ in that, like, you could wake him up at 3:00 in the morning and he's bawling. I mean, we got a game. Okay, let's go. And I've been doing this for 40 years now, JMV, at 40 years, and I've never seen anything like this, what I'm seeing with Peterson. And so, like I said, if you're the Pacers, like, get number 2, cross your fingers, get number 2, and then let somebody else have to deal with whatever that is. And I don't, he may have issues. I'm not disparaging that. I'm not a trainer or doctor or anything. I just have never seen it. And if I have the opportunity to get somebody that I know is going to be great and I don't have to worry about that, I prefer it.
So Mike DeCourcy with us. Final thing. It's been a struggle of a season for Butler, and really not anything like what people thought upon the return of Thad Matta. But I do want you to speak regarding Thad getting number 500 the other night in D.C. against Georgetown, because that is of major significance to a guy that, regardless of the type of season they're having or the return to Butler, this has been an outstanding career.
Oh, it has. I mean, I remember in 2017 when he walked away from Ohio State because of the health issues. And I remember saying what a shame it was, writing what a shame it was, because he was on an absolute Hall of Fame track. And the health thing interrupted his career, took several years of him off the bench. I still think he's a brilliant coach. It's hard at Butler in this era when money is so important. And I'm not talking about to pay the coach. I'm talking about to get players. It's a challenge against some of the like St. John's that has such an abundance of resources from the one particular booster. It's a challenge for them, and I think they're still trying to sort of figure out, okay, how much do we really need, and how can we maximize that with what we have? And I still think that is absolutely the best coach that they could get in that position.
So Mike DeCourcy of Fox, Big Ten Network, NCAA Bracketology. When are you on this weekend?
I will be on Big Ten Network tomorrow. We have a pregame show at 11:30 Eastern Time, I believe, in advance of, I believe it's Penn State, Nebraska. Very much looking forward to that. We have a nice doubleheader on Big Ten Network, and then tomorrow evening we'll break down myself and Raphael Davis, Purdue guy, and Indiana guy. We'll break down not IU, but Indiana, the state. We'll break down the whole day's action in Big Ten basketball tomorrow night on the Big Show.
Well, you almost said Indiana State and got me all excited right there. Hey, by the way, too, one of these days, I can't wait to watch you guys do a Big Ten conference tournament game from Hammond, Indiana one of these days. I'm really excited about that. You?
You mean the Chicago Bears? Is that what you're talking about?
One of these days. Hey, man, I appreciate it. You have a fantastic weekend. We'll be watching, Mike.
Thanks very much. It's always a pleasure to talk.
Yeah, Mike DeCourcy, Big Ten Network, Fox, NCAA Bracketology. Doesn't want anything to do with Darren Peterson. You guys agree on that? I stayed up late last night, 1 a.m. I watched Benedict Mathurin get 38, and I am incredibly happy to see Benedict Mathurin get 38. He was awesome last night. I am always, and I mean always, going to pull for Benedict Mathurin. I love the way that he plays. I just think, and he is not the most personable dude of all time, but I love the way that he goes about his business of playing basketball. And I miss that around here. And I know that you had to have a big man, and we'll see what happens with the draft pick and all. But I'm going to miss that aspect of Benedict Mathurin around here. And I watched last night until 1 a.m. and watched him put up 38, and I was really happy. Shout out to Benedict Mathurin. Quick break, we'll come back. It's Mike Wells of ESPN Radio on the other side, a little over 30, and Dusty May, the head coach of number 1 Michigan, joins this show. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. JMV here for QC Kinetics. Chronic knee pain was hampering my ability to shoot one in your eyeball. What? Man, it was awful. Yeah, the chronic knee pain, it just wasn't the same. I know I'm getting older, but I don't have to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. Thus, I went to folks that could help me, and I qualified for those folks to help me at QC Kinetics. 317-559-PAIN. Your own body's biologics to work in your favor, to rid yourself from that chronic pain that is holding you back, that is holding you down, that is keeping you from doing what you love to do. No matter what age we're talking about, that is QC Kinetics. No lengthy recovery time, no harmful medications. QC Kinetics work for me and my chronic joint pain. They can do the same for you. Find out if you're a qualified candidate today. That is QC Kinetics, 2 locations in Greenwood and in Carmel. Give them a call. Tell them I sent you. Get back on track today. Rid yourself from whatever chronic pain in your body is derailing you from doing what you love to do. That's QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. Tell them I sent you today. 317-559-PAIN today.
The Ride with JMV.
Here's Johnny. David Letterman. Hi, David. I'm Grandpa.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Dusty May, top of the hour. We'll see if our good friend from ESPN Radio, Mike Wells, is ready for this. Mike, take it over.
Ending lover. to ease the pain of having no one in my life. And I'm tired of being undercover. It's time to navigate my feelings tonight. The sky is calm, the stars are bright. What's better to be inside? I'll relax my mind and be at ease. And let this journey set me free. Set me free.
Sing it, Mike Wells.
Spread my wings and fly away to a place that I long for.
This makes you feel good, doesn't it, buddy? You like a little troop here on a Friday afternoon.
Hey, I need something to make me feel good, Jay.
Yes.
Because you and I were in pain last night, bro.
I let you down. Can you believe that I'm surprised Manny hasn't tracked me down to kick the crap out of me. I let all of you guys down. I feel so bad about that. I really do. I'm sorry.
No, hey, listen, you're my guy like I told you in text. Don't sweat it. If it happened, be great. If not, I didn't have to worry about taking a nap at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to be ready to roll at 8 o'clock so that I could stay up till 11 because, my ass is old and I got to be able to nap to stay up late. So it is okay, but the heartbreaking part was I walked in the gym this morning and there were people that were there last night and and I didn't want to kill their excitement because they were so excited.
Yeah.
One of them was right in the first or second row and they were talking about it. And I just want to say I don't want to hear it because I was jealous. I was envious. But you know what? It's okay.
I normally have a great connection that I have with promoters, and this one, I don't know what the hell went on. Now, I will say this, because of the weather last night, it's probably better off that I did go home because there were tornado sirens going off and things like that. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, damn. So every time these guys come to town every 6 months or so. So what the hell's the problem here? I don't know what the hell. Especially, down the hall you've got the legacies. I got nothing, 0, and I feel terrible about it. So I'm sure Manny's probably about ready to choke me.
No, trust me. Hey, Manny was too busy on the toilet last night, bro. That's why he might still be on the toilet. That's probably why you haven't heard from him.
Well, it was it was disappointing for me as it was for you and Derek and Manny as well. Mike Wells of ESPN Radio with us. By the way, Team USA, 4:30 mark of the second period, 4-0 over Slovakia, the winner of the gold medal game in men's hockey coming up on Sunday afternoon in Italy. It is Canada awaiting the winner, and USA would have to gag outside of all-time gags to lose this up 4-0 right now in the second period of play in Milan. All right, $13.2 million. The head coach down where you work in Bloomington at IU, Kurt Signetti, continues to get raises. And I say, if it works, if it's broke, don't fix it, right? That's what you do. So you pay the man his money and you move on about your business, right?
Yes. You were ensuring that if we were to ever lose Kurt Signetti, it's going to be because it's not going to be because of a lack of effort. And I mean, it was just about 6 weeks ago. IU went down to South Florida, won that national championship. Make sure he doesn't go anywhere, because the best part, in all seriousness, the best part about this is that clearly IU was not on this one. They're not on that one-hit wonder type deal. They didn't just sniff the playoffs and lose to Notre Dame 2 seasons ago, and then all of a sudden fall back. They sniffed the playoffs, lost to Notre Dame, came back, and won the national title, beating Oregon twice, beating Ohio State, beating Miami on its home field. So this is not Cincinnati's not looking at this as a one-trick pony. And he goes out, gets him another quarterback from the portal, my man from TCU. So he's looking to continue to build and make IU a legitimate powerhouse on a year-by-year basis.
The Bloomington, Indiana is the epicenter of college football right now. That's an incredible thing. Gotta love it.
Oh my God. It's amazing considering Bloomington was always talked about for men's basketball, for men's college basketball. And what may happen up in West Lafayette tonight, it's probably good that Kurt Signetti got the pay raise today because those Hoosiers are getting a Purdue team that just lost earlier this week to Michigan.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. They have a win over Purdue already. Purdue's got a lot of proving to do itself right now. It really does. I mean, Michigan's really good, don't get me wrong. And the games they've lost, obviously at home against Illinois, against Michigan, and then at home against Iowa State, and then on the road against IU is one thing we're talking about here. But, man, they've got some ground to make up right now because you look at it, and I know that their gauge is not going to come for the Boilermakers until the month of March from their fan base. But you got a lot of disappointment on where this team is right now, and I think you can kind of tell, even with the way that Michigan ran roughshod over them and Mackey on Tuesday. Matt Painter's going to try to find the right buttons to press right now with this group that is to this point. I know a lot of Boilermaker fans, if you have high expectations, probably feel as if they're not reaching them right now.
No, yeah, and what I like about Painter, and I'm gonna be full transparent. Matt Painter has always, since I moved to Indiana, more than 20 years ago, when he became coach of Purdue, he's always been my favorite coach in the city of Indiana. And this is no offense to Brad Stevens or, the Panther coaches that have come through Bloomington since I moved down here. But I love how Painter straight off, he's honest. He's like, he gave Michigan their praise. He wasn't pointing fingers. He was the opposite of Mick Cronin, who just continues to come across like a buffoon when he talks. Painter is honest about this. He knows what lies ahead for them. You sit here, you lose. You had that 3-game losing streak earlier in the season. Now they got to try to bounce back from what happened, especially when you got Michigan State going lurking next Thursday.
So Mike Wells of ESPN Radio is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So I disappointed us last night. There was no Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, Mike, Ralph, and Johnny. No Boys to Men, no Tony Braxton for us. But did you happen to stay up and watch Benedict Mathurin put up 38 for the Clippers in his home debut?
No, I was too busy. I was crying myself to sleep, quite honestly.
Man, I will say this. I'm such a big fan of Mathurin, though. I loved watching that last night. I soaked up every last second because I truly, even if people suggest, well, they needed this, they being the Pacers, and he wasn't really going to fit whatever, but I love the way he goes about his business of basketball. And I think we're going to miss that, and I love watching him perform at that level last night.
Well, first of all, Mathurin just wants to play basketball. You think about this. You look at his demeanor, the way he plays. He's going to be that guy when he's in his 30s or whenever he has a child. He's playing pickup against his own son or daughter who's not going to show any mercy. Like, he simply he has that mindset, and I'm not comparing them talent-wise. But the same way Anthony Edwards wants to go at Durant and LeBron, all those guys, Mathurin wants to do that every single night that he's on the basketball court. He doesn't in a time where everybody wants to be buddies on the court and dapping up their homies and everything. Mathurin doesn't look like that. And that you got to have that. Every team needs to have at least one of those dogs on the roster. And Benedict Mathurin, whether it was when he was with the Pacers or right now with the Clippers, that's how he just plays the game.
So Mike Wells is with us. It was something. What do you think about the NBA? And I've said this: the NBA can fumble about outside and worry about next year. I'm just worried about what's to come this year, and I want the Pacers to end up getting 1 through 4. Which they deserve richly given their situation, regardless of what goes on. And I don't care what happens. I just think that they should go about their business, not caring what the NBA, the higher-ups think, but caring about what they want to do that best benefits them and what best benefits the fans. Everybody else can be damned with me.
Listen, go ahead. If you want to get fined or whatever, if they're going to fine you, if I'm Herbie, I'm like, hey, let me just cut a check. I'm not trying to, considering what we endured this year was, actually not even this year, going back to Game 7 when Tyrese Halliburton went down and ended the Pacers' opportunity to potentially win that Game 7 on the road to the constant losing and not doing well this season. I'm like, I will pay to make sure we keep that draft pick.
Yeah, it's again, their injuries have been evident, easily seen. So, and I know that we're living in it, and there shouldn't be an argument here. Well, I don't have an argument here whatsoever, but I don't care what the NBA has to say. I don't care what the NBA talking heads nationally have to say about it. They lump themselves in with Utah, and it's not even close to being the same. That's a joke of a comparison because those two organizations got fined and it was announced on the same day. They're now lumped into that. The hell with it. Now you see Sacramento doing it. You see other teams doing it. I mean, hell, the Wizards are doing it, a team that the Pacers are going to play again coming up later on tonight. So what the hell? It's just hilarious the way that this has gone down right now. But frankly, you shouldn't care as long as the Pacers hopefully can have good fortune on Mother's Day and get that 1-4 pick and maintain that. That makes that deal the best it can be. And that is a feel good at the end of what has been a punishing season after going 7 games in the NBA Finals last year.
No, without a doubt, man. I know this when we go at 4:30, our segment's a little shorter. Got to ask you, you making that drive down to Jasper tomorrow?
I am. I got JMV takeover tomorrow night, my brother. I've got to get in here in the studio and play all requests for the nation, or we go haywire on a Saturday night. Can't function,
listen, man. I might come in and hog the lines, or I might just come in and sit with you, bro. And all we're gonna do is play Tony Braxton.
Yes.
And New Edition, and Boys II Men songs the entire time, and anybody who moans or groans about it, they can just keep their comments to themselves. We're gonna make a JV takeover nonstop of those three, and enjoy it. But
let me tell you this: this never has happened on an Amp Harris watch. Let me tell you that never.
Hey, what was our boy Amp at?
I don't know. I don't know if he was a part of this or not. Normally, if he's a part of it, there's no worries. But I don't even know who this group was. But it was a complete pain in my ass to the point where I thought, man, I don't even know if the hell with this. But me, we even had a ride. I had somebody that's starting a new drive. They have a company where they have drivers out for people. They were even going to give that a test out with us. I failed us miserably last night. I'm sick over it.
Hey, I think, that person, he reached out to me on my Instagram, sent me a DM on Instagram saying he'd come pick us up and be our chauffeur and everything, which would have been dangerous because I'd have been wanting to partake in plenty of adult beverages in that situation. He'd have to drive my ass back out to Brownsburg.
Well, I'm not going to be dialing you down. I'll probably be full bore. So that's the way we roll. Hey, have a great weekend. Tell the fam I said hello. Keep doing what you're doing over there, too, and we'll double back next week and see where we are, Mike. I appreciate you.
All right, brother. Be good. Talk to you.
Mike Wells of ESPN Radio and the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I let the fellas down. You ever let your guys down and you feel bad about it? That's me. 5-0 right now. Team USA over Slovakia through 2. 5-0. Winner gets Canada on Sunday. Gold medal game. Winter Olympics, Milan. Quick break. We'll come back. Yeah, I love this. The Nike Air Griffey Max 1. You guys remember those shoes? Oh, those are badass. They're back coming up later on this year. Lofty price tag, by the way, James. Those things look good, though. Truly do. Quick break. We'll come back. Dusty May, the head coach of number 1 Michigan, coming up at the top of the hour. More discussion. IU-Purdue round 2, Mackey Arena, West Lafayette. 8 o'clock tip time later on tonight. Shane Steichen on this show. NFL Combine live on Tuesday with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Best in Realty, Mark Dietel. Mark Dietel Realty. 317-755-4232. MarkDietel.com. MarkDietel.com today. So, where are you right now? Growing the family? Need more space? Need more property? Yeah, that is essential. Got to go with Mark Dietel for that, too. He's going to help you out. Or maybe you've realized after a handful of months where the kids are out, maybe going to college, you don't need all that space and you're ready to downsize. All right. So I'm going to give you the heads up on where to go, the absolute best, that no matter what you need as far as home and property is concerned, what best benefits you and your situation, he's got you covered. Mark Dietel is the only real estate expert I trust and recommend with the sale of my home. Mark Dietel guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts you can cancel at any time. It's Mark Dietel, Mark Dietel Realty. That number one more time. Write it down for now or write it down for future reference, but make sure you are in the know with the absolute best. Mark Dietel, 317-755-4232. That's markdietel.com, MarkDietel.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
2 more minutes. They could be miles off course. That's impossible. They're on instruments. you a real sweat.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Penalty expired. Wierenski fires wide. Score! Jack Hughes again! Just after Ocular stepped out of the box, Jack Hughes makes it 5-0. Team USA.
Kenny Albert, NBC, semifinal men's hockey in Milan. It is all Team USA, 5-0 now. Canada earlier today at one point was down 2-0 to Finland, rallied to win that, so they've already advanced to the gold medal game. That coming up on Sunday, so unless everything falls through to the point where it is beyond an embarrassing gag, you're going to have the USA and Canada for the gold coming up on Sunday. Holy crap, let's do it. Yeah, this one time in 4 years where most of you that really don't care a damn thing about hockey, and believe me, I can't be in that category. Until recently, I'm in that category. You can care coming up on Sunday. 5-0 as we advance to the third period with Team USA and Slovakia. 317-239-1070. That is the text line number. JMV, don't front check that. JMV, wholeheartedly agree with Mike DeCourcy on Peterson. I would much prefer DeBanza on the wing or Boozer in the post. I feel like AJ may have the highest ceiling and Boozer the highest floor. Both seem always available and ready to roll. I said this the other day. DeBanza to me is intriguing because of the length, the athleticism, and all that. Boozer is intriguing because I think he's a guy that would be able to give you the most instantaneous, higher level of return on investment, if that makes sense. I think he'd be ready to rock right then and right there with that particular group. The thing about Peterson, though, and this is what you have to really be prepared, is he may not be anything like what we witness right now. I know it's a bummer for everybody. Mike DeCourcy explained what he thought about that situation. And nobody can be more disappointed than I'm sure Bill Self, the head coach at Kansas. But you want to make sure you do get the most talented, the most upside, and I'm sure all this will be judged. But I would happen to agree, Nick, with what you're saying right there. JMV, nothing matches sports better than Kenny Albert announcing hockey, Jordan and Carmel. Jordan, you're right about that. 5-0 Team USA. We shall get to that. We'll get to the night for Matherin. You're still a Benedict Matherin fan out there, right? High school basketball semi-states coming up for the girls tomorrow. And, of course, it is round 2 in West Lafayette tonight. 8 o'clock tip time, 7 o'clock coverage. 93 WIBC. If you missed Don Fisher a little bit earlier, podcast with the voice of the Hoosiers, you can find that here at 1075thefan.com. On the other side, friend of the show, friend of mine, a little GC basketball conversation. The head coach of the number 1 ranked Michigan Wolverines. Non-conference in D.C. tomorrow for the Wolverines. They get Duke. That is a 1v4, I think, matchup, 1v3 matchup in D.C. Not bad. Dusty May is going to join us coming up on the other side. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. I got the car buying experience you need right now. One-stop shopping, hassle-free. The last thing you need is to be hassled in something like this. You got to go with my friend Eric Wilson and Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st State Road 37 in Fishers. I want to make it easy for you. I want to make it so tempting because the car buying experience, the absolute best, from the inventory to what you're going to get incentives to buy. which you're just not going to find anyplace else right now. You're going to find it Indiana's best. And the service after the sale, that is so essential now in the car buying experience. Make it happen for yourself. Car buying experience, the absolute best, hassle-free, save big, and know that you got the best treatment with my friend Eric Wilson and Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st, State Road 37 in Fishers.
The Ride with JMV.
I love JMV. He looks like Rascal Flatts guy.
Got a cool soul patch.
He does, and a buttery smooth voice.
Oh, yeah.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, you got to love it. Mike DeCourcy, Mike Wells, Bob Lovell, voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, IU-Purdue, Mackey Arena tonight, 8 o'clock tip time. Our table, I've got to have a bar seat. I'll be over there down in Bargersville a little bit later on tonight. Now, look for me there. We'll hang out and watch IU-Purdue round number 2. Coming up tomorrow, number 1, Michigan, number 3, Duke in D.C. The Cap One Arena is a location in what is going to be one of the better matchups of the weekend. Certainly also talking about that of Houston and Arizona on this weekend schedule. But joining us now, the head coach of the number 1 ranked Michigan Wolverines, getting set for Duke in D.C. Friend of mine from Greene County, Eastern Greene, coming together on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. It is Dusty May who joins us now. Hey, Dusty, thanks for the time. How are you?
Doing great, John. I feel like we're doing one of those like UCLA versus Notre Dame in February games growing up as a kid that we watched.
I know. I feel like David Rivers is going to play point guard for somebody here in a minute. Is that true?
I think so. That's a name from the past. It's one of my favorite Notre Dame guards ever.
Well, it seemed like when I was in high school, because I was always like the last one in the gym for every Eastern high school game, as you remember. I was the last one there. I would always end up watching a lot of Notre Dame and David Rivers leading up to that on NBC in the afternoon, so I know exactly what you're talking about here.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite players, and that's why those guys that were on the nationally televised game on Saturday mornings, we knew who they were. I still remember all those guys. So, but yeah,
I was introduced to Dennis Scott and Georgia Tech. Remember Georgia Tech and Bobby Crimmins' great team back then because of those games.
Run TMC? So. No, not Run TMC, but they had the Dennis Scott.
Yeah, Bruce Dalrymple, Yvonne Joseph,
Oliver,
John Sally,
Tom Hammonds. That was the same group. Yeah, they had a nickname. I forget what it was. They had a great mantra.
And I probably wouldn't have seen anything had I gone early to get some shots up as we played Shack and Mac. I just rarely did that. So. Too bad for me. Hey, how do you think your team right now, from our standpoint, either covering it or watching it as a fan, you guys seem to be humming at a really good time of year. How does it look from the inside, Dust?
Yeah, John, we look really, really healthy physically and mentally. And it's mid to late February, and we probably had our best, most spirited practice of the year yesterday, though it was short. Our guys got after it. It was chaotic. And so, yeah, that's a great sign for this time of year when your guys are still improving and having a blast doing it, because we're getting into those dog days.
Is this kind of what you thought when you cobbled this roster together, put this together? Is this kind of what you thought? And I know that you obviously want to raise the bar even higher here, but at this point of the season, were you thinking that you guys could be this good as you've shown to this point?
We did internally, yeah. And now we hear all the super team stuff, and we've bought and this thing. And you would think if that was the case, we would have been ranked in the top 10 in any major publication in the preseason. But our guys have really bought into doing it together. And you got to realize this comes with the territory. These guys majority of them were backups other places or cast-offs. And we felt like they were all undervalued, and so they came here and have decided to play really good ball together.
This is Dusty May, the head coach of Michigan, on the road in D.C. Neutral site game against Duke. We'll talk about that coming up. That's tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a second. The one thing that stands out, and oftentimes this is cliched in any sports, but doing the little things. And even as massively gifted as your team is, and we can see that, it seems like that they do the little things at a very high level.
They do. They play every possession at a high level. They cover for each other. They're really smart basketball players. We teach decision-making on both sides of the ball every day, every drill, everything that we do. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but these guys have gotten it much quicker than we anticipated. We obviously had some bumps in the road early in the season because we hadn't played together, but these guys, they're intelligent. I mean, Yaxel Lindenberg's ability to retain information, to focus on what's important is second to none. And then you factor in Adai and Merez, how smart of basketball players they're becoming and have been. And then Ellie Cadeau is a wizard. I mean, he's a savant with the ball in his hands. And then we have some other guys that really spend a lot of time on being smart, talented basketball players. So we're very lucky to have this group because they have great character.
It's Dusty May with us. How difficult is it to, again, I always mention the collegiate landscape, the way that it is in college athletics. How difficult is it to put together a team like this? And it is a year-to-year thing. You do have holdovers, and we'll get to those guys, which I think are exceptional for you in a second. But how difficult is it to see these guys become cohesive? You want to do that instantaneously, but even if you have guys around the program for a while, it's not going to happen overnight. However, these guys look like they took to one another pretty early in this process, which I think in the college landscape today is rather difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it was easy, there'd be a lot more teams looking like us. You know, we didn't hear that we had a super team until just recently, and we'll take it because we think our guys are really good as well. We believed in them. But as far as all the other lazy narratives, we just think it cheapens the success and cheapens the sacrifice that these guys have made, not only on the court but financially. I mean, our guys majority of them have taken 40 to 50% pay cuts to play together and to have a chance to win a national championship. And so and that's not even including the shots that they pass up and the minutes that they're giving up for their teammates. Our guys are playing 20 to 25 minutes a night for the most part, and we haven't had any complaining or negative body language because they respect the other guys that are playing and realize that that's part of competition and the cost of winning.
You've had some guys around the program for a minute, then you have a lot of new guys in the program. But I look at some of the guys that have been around it for a while. You see their minutes have decreased, but their juice, their motivation, their drive, and what they add to this team has been on the increase. That is a delicate dynamic, Dusty, to say the least, that you're getting out of guys like that on your squad now.
No, it really is, and it's a testament to their basketball character and also their circles around them that are allowing it to happen. Because if they listened to the narratives and the poison that comes with this, as each person is their own brand and their own business, you know, they all have 1099s now. So everyone in college basketball now is essentially their own LLC. And so if the guys listen to everything around them, then it would be easy to get poisoned. But these guys have put up barriers around, and they're smart enough to know the difference. And they're also smart enough to know what they're doing truly is special. And it's, you know, not very many guys are willing to do it, but they do trust that they'll get it back at the end of the day tenfold if we continue to do what we're supposed to do. And if we don't, there's no guarantee it will happen. But if we do win at the level we're capable of, then we all know what's going to happen for everyone's lives.
Dusty Bay and number one Michigan, they have Duke coming up tomorrow evening in Washington, D.C. Really fine basketball matchup this time of year, out-of-conference matchup to say the least. I'm curious, if there was one thing that you want to see, and I know there's probably a variety of things, but just one thing at the top of the list you want to see your group do better right now when you hear all that, or you might hear all that outside noise or poison, as you mentioned, but what's one thing you really want to see these guys raise the bar on with your group presently?
You know, taking care of the basketball, the turnovers are the issues that plagued us last year, and this year they plagued us early. We've improved, and then recently, I think there are 4 examples against Purdue where we were in position to have the ball, and Braden Smith just took a better route or was quicker to it than us, and so we've got to clean those possessions up if we want to be at our best. We've moved our way into the top 15 nationally, offensive rebounding wise, and we felt all year that we were underachieving based on our talent and skill set in that area. So we're definitely trending in the right direction. We went through a little bit of a shooting funk in early January, and we've gotten through that. And so now it really is the turnover issue, and then continue to buy in that each night our lineup, our stat leaders are going to look differently, and as long as we continue to be okay with that, then we should be fine.
What'd you like most about Tuesday night? I know this is a reflection right now. We're moving forward, but what'd you like most about your group Tuesday night in one of the more hostile, if not the most hostile environments in college basketball, Mackey?
The thing I enjoyed the most was to see how they literally were unfazed by anything that was being said by the crowd, by Purdue's talent level, 2 first-team All-Americans, and it was a Herculean effort from Trey Kaufman-Wren. I don't know if I've seen a guy more determined to win a possession or a game than he was. Obviously, we have guys that match that, but as far as surpassing that, I don't think he could have exerted more energy, effort to win each possession. And so just to be able to fend that off whenever they made several runs and our guys made big shots, they made big plays. And that's what you have to do when you go into that environment, because a lot of teams, when you build a lead and they come back and you know they're going to make a run, a lot of teams will fold under that pressure, and our guys, they just stayed at it, and that was impressive.
Hey, Dust, the thing that impresses me about you guys' defense, and I don't know if it's something that normally I would notice, but they close out defensively. They close out with a purpose. with meaning. And I think oftentimes, I saw this a couple times on Tuesday, it was almost a bit of a surprise that normally guys aren't out that and on a jump shooter that quickly in that capacity. And that's part of the never giving up and doing the little things mentality that certainly I noticed on the defensive end from your guys on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think that the trust that they have in each other. Obviously, there's a sense of urgency to defend a three. We lost to Wisconsin because of our lack of urgency to get to three-point shooters, and then 3.9 shooters that happen to make them at a high level that game. And so we learned the hard way that no matter who we're playing, if there's a shooter taking a shot, we can't let anyone have an uncontested look. But also the belief that Adai and Merez and Yaxel, our shot blockers, are going to be in position to rotate and protect the rim. It allows our perimeter defenders to give early help and get back to shooters, or just perceptual help because they know they don't really have to move their body into the gap to stop a driver because they've got 7'3" behind them or one of those 6'9" athletes that have great anticipation skills.
So Dusty May, who was with us, you mentioned Trey Kaufman-Renn, and we'll put a cap on that conversation from Tuesday. But it seemed like that part of the purpose you guys were doing too was he worked hard at it, and you were absolutely right to describe him in that fashion. But you guys defensively made him work hard at it too.
We did, and we felt like more than anyone else we could match up with a one-on-one. And there were times during the game when I was getting negative with the staff. Are you guys sure we want to stay with this? Because, he was wearing us out. But the whole thing was just not get in rotations, to not give their shooters space for threes and let them find a good rhythm. Then they're picking you apart on all sides. Braden, the shooters, Trey. And so we just made a calculated risk that we would be able to score enough to offset if TKR got going, and he did, and he was a load, and they kind of went back to last year's model where they played through him. But, it took us score 90 points to figure out a way to win that. So if we do see them again in the Big Ten tournament, hopefully we will late, maybe Sunday. Before Selection Sunday, we'll see them again, but we'll have to make some adjustments because we can't count on scoring 91 points again against Purdue and shooting the ball that well.
Yes, Dusty May, the head coach of Michigan. We mentioned, kind of laughed about this back in the day. You have these out-of-conference matchups in February. We used to watch those on TV, and now certainly you're a part of this against Duke. You like this matchup this time of year? Would you like to do this more, or would you rather this stay in conference? I'm curious, what do you think about just in general the matchup against Duke, but also how this was put together, and do you like the aspect of playing out of conference against a team like that this time of year?
Well, these games are all NIL generated. So obviously we have, if we're going to have a talented roster, you have to continue to find creative ways to generate money and income and so the players can make money. So from that side of it, but also just as far as the attention and everything that goes with this game for our sport and for the enterprise of college basketball, I think it's awesome. I've seen more interest and more advertisement in this game than I have any of our Big Ten games for the most part, and right, wrong, or indifferent. It seems to have a national audience on it, and it's the TV networks have let us know in the past that these out-of-conference games in February after the Super Bowl are very, very popular. And so, padding records, playing more money games, I don't know what that does for us. But also we're healthy now, John, and if we weren't healthy, I'd be kicking myself going into this game when we needed a bye week. But we're in a good rhythm. We're healthy. Yeah. And so, we instead of taking a bye week and trying to figure out when to practice and how hard and staying healthy and whatnot, just to continue to keep the train rolling, I think it benefits this team right here, right now. Now, if Duke, who's unbelievably talented and well coached, they beat us down Saturday and take some of our mojo, then I might be singing a different tune after the fact.
Well, Dust, you say is NIL generated here, which would beg, I guess, the question, we're going to see this more until further notice, are we not? More than just what you're doing right now across the board with different teams, but maybe even more for an individual team. Is that fair?
Yeah, especially teams with brand recognition and following. Absolutely. We're going to see this more and more every year. I don't know if we're going to see it much more than this year. It's already eliminated the Maui Classic and watered down all the other MTE events. So it's not going away. everyone's trying to find new creative ways to build the best teams that they can. And so this is part of the new normal.
Oh, it is, too. And I was thinking about when you were on the staff back at USC in the day, you probably never even had a vision. You had a vision, but maybe not a vision. This ultimately was where you were going to end up and what you were going to be dealing with. It's been a crazy ride for you, but gratifying to say the least it has to have been.
Yeah, when I became the second assistant or third assistant, whatever I was at Eastern Michigan, I felt like I'd hit a grand slam out of the ballpark for as far as individual goals. So yeah, this is all John. Obviously, coming from where we do it, this is a pipe dream. But it's been a lot of fun, and I know that it's not me. It's I've been surrounded by really, really good people that work well together. And I think if there's one way to describe our team and staff now, is that we all work really, really well together, and there's no individual ego. There's a team ego, and there's a real respect for the work that everybody does. So, because of that, we're in the position we're in.
Dusty May's with us, so give me a little thumbnail sketch. We've seen Duke a number of times already, but your vantage point with Duke and the squad you're going to see coming up on Saturday night.
Well, I've watched Boozer for years because he went to high school in South Florida when we were at FAU, and there's not a more mature basketball player than him as far as mental, physical, everything that goes with being an elite player. He's not relying on a 45-inch vertical, and obviously he's very talented genetically, but he's smart, he's skilled, he's unselfish. He has all. He's not only a great player, but as our friend Coach Schertz always says, he's a winning player as well. And when you have great players who are also winning players, then you got yourself something.
All right. By the way, too, I talked to Josh last week, and I told him that next time we do this, we're going to do an interview together with Josh, and we're going to prank call you during the interview. See if you pick up. So
let's do it.
Yeah, we got to do that. And the other thing I did want to mention, because I loved it when you were sitting there, watching, and the Michigan State fans were behind you at the Breslin Center a couple of weeks ago, and everybody made a big deal about this in social media. I thought, this may be a bigger deal for others, but he played Eastern high school basketball morning ball, so this is absolutely nothing for you. That didn't faze you at all, did it, because of that?
I've had very similar experiences. One when I was on Chris Reed's team at morning pickup ball, and usually he got a lot of the wrath. And then probably the second time was when our basketball team would walk around the Apple Festival. Those two things are probably the two examples of when I felt less popular than that day.
Everybody often wonders, Mark Barnheiser is one of your favorite all-time dudes, and he always referenced my team as Team Alcohol, if you remember, because I would roll in there.
Oozing out of your pores. Yeah, I think in those days, us young guys got a contact buzz.
Team, I can't believe, the quotes still resonate with me. I can't believe I just blanking lost to Team Alcohol. Those are the days, though. But I thought of you at that time, and I thought there is zero way this is going to affect you, considering what you went through back in the day. Hey, in closing remarks with Dusty May, the head coach of Michigan and Duke coming up tomorrow night in Washington, D.C. Has this Michigan experience been all you thought it was going to be when you made that decision to come up there and coach that basketball program?
Yeah, and then some. Leaving FAU was incredibly difficult because Boca became our home. We had been there long enough and had such a good experience and built something from the ground up. And now to come here at a very proud, tradition-rich program and being able to build on it a little bit, it's been fun as well. But the people here are awesome. As soon as we touched down, Ann and I got off the plane, and I said, it feels great to be back around Midwestern people. And that's probably the thing after being in Florida 9 years and in the South 15. We really missed the people of the Midwest. And so it's been awesome to be back home. Now I am ready for the weather to break and it to feel like Florida again this spring and summer. But other than that, it's been an incredible 2 years. And, I have two sons here in college, so it's been very rewarding to spend my days with them as we get older, and we don't have that much time left with our kids.
That is so awesome, though, that you get to spend all that time with the fam right there too. Now, I'm constantly, because I'm in touch with everybody. Everybody's coming up and checking out games whenever they can, and it's much easier to do now that you're not in West Palm and you're in Ann Arbor. It's just a cool deal for you all the way around, and it's more even magnified cool when you're winning games at the clip you guys are too.
Yeah, I don't know, John. I think we probably had more traffic down in Boca Raton. It seemed like every former teacher at Eastern Green or Monroe County was retired and wanted to come down and check out some hoops. Even Matthew Graves' his family, they're in Florida part of the year, and they'd come over and watch our games at FAU just to get their basketball fix. So that's the only thing that you said that I disagree with.
Oh, well, maybe you're right about that. I don't know. I just see a picture of David Hayes like in the background looking like Scott Stapp of Creed every time you guys have a dang game. Is he up there every weekend or what?
Last year he was almost a season ticket holder. I don't know, maybe because he about lost a leg. He's missed a few games.
I thought he was maybe remodeling your bathroom or something. Is that not true?
No, that was a one and done. That was the first one.
Right, it has to be one and done. By the way, too, a couple of birthdays. Dustin Hayes' birthday is today. Friend of ours, my mom's neighbor down there. I believe your mom just celebrated a birthday, did she not?
She did, yeah. Yeah, the 18th, a couple days ago.
Well, I know they're all listening, so happy birthday to everybody surrounding us. Hey, job well done. Needless to say, we're all incredibly proud of what you've done, and I just enjoy the way you keep it real. It is still Dusty May that we grew up with, that is the head coach of number one Michigan right now. And there is something to be said about having that personality and attitude. That is a job well done, my brother. You know that to be true.
I appreciate it, John, and appreciate you having me on.
Hey, bring your shoes the next time you're down here, too, because we've got hooping going on 24/7, 365 here in central Indiana, okay? I've got spots for us.
Hopefully I can make it down for a day this spring or summer, and I'll take you up on that.
Can't wait to see you, pal. Good luck.
All right. Thanks, John.
So Dusty May on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You can tell by that he is the same as he ever has been. And that is even more gratifying with his level of success than, for me, anything else. Number one, Michigan, get Duke tomorrow. That's in D.C. Dusty May, the head coach of the Wolverines. The pride of Eastern Green High School. He, much like me, is a Thunderbird. And a shout out to everybody down in GC. I know that's listening to the conversation right now. Always cool to have him on. The Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Quick break. We shall return. Don't go anywhere. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Dave Matthews Band is coming.
Hey, John here for Big Red Liquors. Powers the JMV takeover every Saturday night on B105.7. You're going to love it tomorrow. Now, you know that the All Request Saturday night is the only All Request show anywhere, which is incredible. 6 hours, 6 until midnight, powered by Big Red Liquors, plus your weekend fun. Maybe you're having a party, maybe you get together, maybe you're hanging out by yourself, and you want to ease back and chill out a little bit. You're going to get great deals at Big Red Liquors like this. 4 rows of small batch, $5 off these reliable bottles, too. How about New Amsterdam, Old Smoky Moonshine, Beam 175s. Also, you can find with great deals right now. Small bottles, too, and your favorites in beer. Yuengling 24 packs. Their low-calorie beer is Yuengling Flight. You're also going to find Modelo 24 packs. $5 off their low-calorie would be Modelo Oro. Old standbys like Busch, High Life 12 packs. Great deals, Big Red Liquors. 100-plus locations, state of Indiana, one near you. You can find that, and, of course, it powers the JMV takeover every Saturday night. For all the info you need and to find those great deals, that's BigRedLiquors.com. Hey, it's John for WeGrowHairIndy.com, 317-522-2995. You want your real growing hair back again? Do you see that you're losing it? Can you tell? Well, if you can, let's do something about it. You have the option. If you want to be bald, that's your option. That's fine. If you want your real growing hair again, WeGrowHairIndy.com, 317-522-2995. Let Darren Andrews explain to you what I tell you about all the time or what you may already know about your options of your real growing hair. 317-522-2995 or WeGrowHairIndy.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
We're not going to fall for a banana in the tailpipe.
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this. Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, so who wants to go see Tim McGraw? I've got a couple of tickets for you. Friends of Live Nation and more. Ruoff is the side coming up in September for Tim McGraw. Number 30 on the text line, 317-239-1070. Cut it loose, have at it. Tim McGraw. Married to Faith Hill, right? Yes. Tim McGraw, 70, I should say, coming up in the month of September, number 30 on the text line at 317-239-1070. You get Tim McGraw tickets. Thank you very much. You know, I should mention again, you've got number 2 on the season, regular season-wise, between IU and Purdue. IU winning the first down in Bloomington, 72-67. And that, if you remember correctly, was an outstanding opening half for the Hoosiers where they put up 40 and defensively held the Boilermakers down to 29. So that's where really that win came, and that's where it all started. Now, if you're looking for a common theme, if you're a Hoosier fan, for tonight on the road in Mackey, you look back at that game, and that's when Nick Dorn, for lack of a better description, could hit a shot. Nick Dorn had 18, 4 of 9 from 3. But it has been a struggle recently for Nick Dorn. That would be nice if that reemerged. Now, one thing on the positive side that has happened since is Sam Alexis has looked pretty good. But Nick Dorn was a common theme in that one. Tucker DeVries had 9 points. Lamar Wilkerson had 19. But you factor in one of the big reasons why IU was able to win that game was the three-point shooting of Nick Dorn, and it has been a struggle for him. That certainly would have to change coming up later on tonight. Meantime, for the Boilermakers, Trey Kaufman-Wren had 23. Braden Smith had a 6 for 14, 2 of 8 from 3, 14-point day. Fletcher Lawyer, 3 of 10, only 8 points. Oscar Clough was non-existent. And you would have to think the Boilermakers step up and play a hell of a lot better. In terms of what took place on Tuesday, losing to Michigan, Friday night affair, 8 o'clock is that tip, 7 o'clock your coverage, IU and Purdue. That's 93 WIBC with voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, who was on the show a little bit earlier. You can check that out, by the way, podcast. 1075thefan.com. Man, lots of you went in on Tim McGraw. That's popular. So true. JMV, I really enjoy listening to you talk to Dusty May right there. I can see why he's been successful. Especially now in terms of the NIL and the transfer portal, you're able to take advantage of situations you haven't been able to take advantage of in the past. And that Michigan team looks like it has come together and been in a nice situation right now and is absolutely loaded. And that part is true. Dusty and Michigan, number 1 in the nation, get number 3, Duke. Coming up tomorrow evening in D.C. That is a neutral site. And as Dusty had mentioned, too, it is, basically it's generating NIL. I saw an article the other day that talked about how more teams are going to have to go to the non-conference high-caliber games scheduling because of that alone. 6-2, Team USA over Slovakia right now. Just a little under 2 minutes to play in the third. And you got a Kachuk getting into it with basically everybody from Slovakia right now. And you've got to close out. Slovakia is getting a little bit chippy because they're down 6-2. And an interesting dynamic working right here. But Team USA is good to go. Up 6-2. That turned into a little bit of something. That didn't start to be anything, but turned into a little bit of something right there. Team USA and Canada. I thought maybe this would be in the afternoon on Sunday or later in the afternoon. It looks like it's like 8 in the morning. Yeah, 8 a.m. Sunday, gold medal game, the United States and Canada. It is 8:10 in the a.m. coming up on Sunday morning. Now, Canada earlier in the day went down 2-0 to Finland, battled back, and ended up winning. So that's your matchup, Team USA now and Canada in the gold medal game of the Winter Olympics in Milan, Sunday morning. 8:10 in the a.m. for you. And not bad at all. JMV, I'm curious as to why no one from the fan is discussing the NCAA threatening to vacate IU's national championship. Seems like a big deal. I think it's only coming from one source, and I don't know how much anybody really puts any stock into that particular source. Is that like something 3 or National 3? Yeah, I think we've all seen it, right? I just haven't seen it by much of a credible source. Like, I'm not going to pick up every little note and half-ass report on the internet and roll with it. Is that okay with you? Yeah, if it comes to something more, then we'll discuss it with something more. Other than that, it's like one report. I tell you what you can do. You can, what do they do? Grok it, G-R-O-K. Grok that thing and see if anybody else talks about it. So I'm supposed to like run with any half-ass rumor? That'd be great. So if that answers your question, hopefully it does, James, that's why. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has. I know that's why I haven't. I've read the entire thing. And it cites, I think, Lewis Moore. But other than that, I haven't seen it anyplace else. If it turns into something where it's real, but it's like you get on Facebook and I have to hear all the time about, hey, did you hear about this and hear about that? And it's all make-believe. It's stupid. I'm not going to chase every single online rumor for the sake of your half-assery. I'm just not going to do it. If it comes something more, we'll talk about with something more. But to this point, it is like one and only non-source kind of looking half-ass report. So to answer your question in full, James, that's why. I can't speak for everybody else, but that's why I haven't. Hope that makes sense. JMV, how many other shows have the number one coach of the number one team in the nation on the show on a Friday before they play Duke? Well, I do have a bit of advantage, growing up with him, but it's different. No doubt. JMV, touching the Pacers a bit. I don't know about you, but every time I watch them, I can't root for them to lose. There's zero way I can do that, Nick. None. Zero. Now, I know that it's beneficial, and I know that we look at Mother's Day and the NBA draft lottery. That's going to tell the story right there. But I'm with you. I've always been outspoken against the term entertaining losses, and I think losing sucks. The situation they're in sucks, and that's why I've been so outspoken on how it's termed tanking, because they have legitimately been compromised due to significant injury. And there's nobody that is more described as that than this team. And they're injured because they pushed it to the limit. Halliburton was injured, pushed it to the limit. Other guys pushed it to the limit, so that's why I've been so outspoken about that. I don't really care what the NBA thinks. I don't care what NBA national talking heads think. Here's what I want. I want Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan, and I want the Pacers to do what is best beneficial for their organization and their fans. I just don't see anything that has been at all egregious about it. Just a thought. Well done on the winner right there. But no, to answer your question, Nick, I can't. It's not. I got watched last night, and they played well to a certain point, and then it all kind of fell through, and then Neesmith gets injured again, and I can't actively say, hey, great, I'm glad you lost, because that sucks. But if there is a team that is deserving, even though they have dangled like a carrot that lottery selection out there in that draft day deal, and I understand why you had to do that. Yeah, even if it did take away one of the guys I like a great deal in Benedict Mathurin, and watching him get 38 last night for the Clippers, I didn't feel sad. I felt happy because I was happy for him. I want to see him thrive out there and turn in. Like, even though he is gone now, I'm not hoping that he doesn't turn it into anything special because he's not with the Pacers and that's going to look like a bad move. I am for him. I like him a great deal. I liked him when he was here. I like him even more now because I like how he goes about his business of playing basketball. He is all ball and doesn't give a fat crap about anything else. I have a great deal of admiration for that. More guys should have that. But yeah, it's a tough situation, Nick, to be in. They need to lose, but it's tough to actively say, oh, all right, you lost. Great. We've been down that path before. Quick one, will come back final time, I believe. What we got top of the hour here? Should I look right over the last word, 6 o'clock? 6:30, Pacers and the Wizards. That is second of a back-to-back right there with the Wizards later on tonight. 7 p is that tip time. We'll run over the weekend as well. And, of course, on 93 WIBC at 7, they're officially going to get underway with the pregame show. Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, IU and Purdue, Mackey Arena in West Lafayette. That tips at 8 o'clock later on tonight. 93 WIBC. We'll close it out with you coming up on the other side. Stay right there. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. So great. John and Chris Love and Love Heating and Air, 317-353-2141. That's love-hvac.com today. Check out that system. Hey, before too long, we're going to be getting into checking out what is going to work for you coming up with the temperatures consistently warmer. It's weird, right? One of these days we will. Maybe now is the time to check that out. It has been a long winter. It has been an exceptionally cold winter. You want to do what is best for your system moving forward, and that is with Love Heating and Air. By the way, if you need a repair, mention my name. They'll take $95 off the service fee with Love Heating and Air. That's $95 off the service fee with Love Heating and Air at 317-353-2141 with any repair that's necessary. Find out more online, love-hvac.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
Excuse me, sir. There's been a little problem in the cockpit.
The cockpit? What is it?
It's the little room in the front of the plane where the pilots sit. But that's not important right now.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Kurt Cignetti raise over $13 million per. That's a job well done by Scott Dolson. That's savvy, smart. You got something, you keep it. You don't have anybody else jack with it. Keep it happy, keep it going. The IU football program. Skivvies writes this, good old amateur athletics when Dusty just said, quote, they even took pay cuts talking about guys coming in his program. I got news for you. They're not amateur athletes any longer. I think we all understand that. And he did say that guys coming into his program that he brought in took pay cuts to be a part of that. You might as well get used to that being said because, by God, that's exactly what's going on. Dick Vernon writes this. That would be the principal. No, I'm sorry. He was a teacher. He was in charge of Saturday school in the Breakfast Club. Are they going to stop fixing the lotteries? We'll see. We're going to see. Because we could all talk about, the Pacers, being there 1 through 4, but the one thing doing the best you can, the worst you can, however you want to phrase it. But I think everybody has in mind that the good fortune won't happen because of the lack of good fortune or because they get screwed over in general. That's how I'm going to phrase it. I'll phrase it like this. If they don't end up getting 1 through 4 and that lottery selection goes to the Clippers, I'm going to blame the NBA. JMV, I know it's been talked about, but I can't believe how underwhelming Tucker DeVries has been this year in an IU uniform. You and I recall his effectiveness at Drake against the Sycamores a few years ago. At least he isn't forcing shots and is a team player, but damn. I think, Yaney, what that goes to show you is the difference in levels of which, even though we were loving it at the time 2 years ago over in St. Louis, that's a different in levels right here, isn't it? I think he's seen a different in levels. That's a difference in 2 years ago playing at Drake against Indiana State than now, for example, playing on the road at Mackey if you're Tucker DeVries against Purdue or playing in the Big Ten. There is just a canyon of difference most of the time. Now, in a moment, you can get an upset, but most of the time, those stats are going to show. Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it's a couple of years older. But most of the time, Yanni, my good friend, that is going to show. And it certainly has right there. JMV, tomorrow night's JMV Takeover, all 80s, 90s, yacht rock, metal, hair band, southern rock, 70s, disco, rap, hip-hop, rock, or all the above. Damn straight, Jim McCann in Southern California. We go all above. I think actually this weekend is the 80s. But we do that all the time anyway. We do whatever we feel like doing. JMV, that was a great take on all things Benedict Mather. And I am still a tremendous fan of Benedict Mather, and that was enjoyable to watch last night. And again, shout out to all those in Monroe County, especially on the west side of Bloomington, that dealt with those on the ground or the on-the-ground tornado last night. That was pretty scary stuff for a couple of moments for real, and a cleanup going on down there right now. James, thank you very much. Mike DeCourcy, Big Ten, Fox, NCAA Bracketology. Mike Wells, ESPN Radio. Bob Lovell, Indiana Sports Talk. Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers. Dusty May, head coach of Michigan. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Last word next. Pacers Wizards 6:30 pregame show right here. 93 WIBC, 7 o'clock. Don Fisher going to get you set for IU-Purdue Part 2. Guys, enjoy the weekend. I'll talk to you from the Combine on Tuesday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.